Hello everyone, welcome to In My Own Thoughts. Today I'm going to be discussing bullying and integration. It's a big topic and I've been wanting to make this video for a little while, but I made different versions of it. I didn't like them very much, so it's been a little while for me just decide on what I like, what I don't like, and what I really want to talk about. At first I thought that I just wanted to focus on bullying, but I think I also realized that I want to focus on bullying with integration. So I am addressing this topic as a foreigner and how it relates to foreigners. I'm not just really talking about bullying in of itself when it comes to just people being bullied in middle school or late elementary school or even early high school. That's a completely different topic, and again, I'm approaching it from a foreigner's perspective. If you would like to discuss that with me, feel free to message me and talk to me about it, but just for the sake of this video, I want to discuss it in regards to someone moving from a different country. And I think when it comes to moving from a different country, the biggest part is the language. At least for me, I believe that that's the biggest part, because the language does so much when it comes to not just communication but also cultural communication. So with bullying particularly, I can just tell you my experience and talk a little bit about that. So when we first came to America, about the first 3 years of maybe like I would say like 5th to 7th grade, I was bullied. I was mostly verbally bullied. I think because I was a girl, people didn't really like try to touch girls or anything like that, or try to like physically bully girls. I know that the fights were more between boys. It was mostly verbal bullying, and it went for about 2.5 years, and it wasn't pleasant at all. And really, I look back and I think I could have stopped a lot of it if I had been able to speak the language right away, but I didn't. I had no English background whatsoever. So I couldn't stop that right when it was happening. And I think back, I think that teachers, when they were in the classroom and they would see it happen, I kind of expected them to say something or do something about it. But they never really did, and maybe they didn't want to or they couldn't, I'm not sure. But as for teachers, I think that there was a lot that could have happened on their part that they just chose not to do. So that is really the gist and the core of it. So I'm going to get into it a little bit. And when it comes to verbal bullying, I don't know how, but children just are very good at knowing how to bully at those ages. And I wouldn't say that I was bullied by everyone. I think that the kids who were known to be popular or whatever were definitely bullies. At least for me, they bullied me. And I had maybe one or two just good friends who weren't doing that and who were just really nice to me, so that was a huge blessing at the time. But when it comes to just a day-to-day basis, 5th and 6th grade I absolutely hated because I was struggling to learn the language, and when I was learning it, I really had no encouragement really at school from continuing to go on. Because it felt like the minute I learned something new, or the minute that I could speak a few sentences, I would be bullied against. So even when I would try to defend myself, kids would just say cruel and harsh words, and it's funny because even though I didn't know the language, for some reason, I knew what they were saying. I was young. I was about 11 years old, so my learning capacity was pretty strong at the time. And so I could know what they were saying. Could have been their body language. I don't know. I think back and I'm how did I know what they were saying when I just had no idea what the language was like? But we all know when it comes to language, a lot of times we can understand things much better than we can communicate things when it comes to a different language. So I know that I've met so many people who experience that with second languages. And so, yeah, so for the 6th grade, it was just really difficult to feel encouraged or want to go on. But when it came to 7th grade, I was still bullied. That definitely didn't stop, but my vocabulary had expanded so much. I was really close to being fluent by the time 7th grade came around. And I think, even though it was still like heavy, even though, kids were constantly saying cruel and harsh words and just making me feel like nothing, like absolutely just useless and valueless, even though that was still going on, that didn't change. It felt like me knowing the language just helped with focusing on other things. So I focused a lot more on my academics, on reading, on writing, I just focused a lot more on what I wanted to do. And that didn't make it go away by any stretch of the imagination, but it just made me feel, like, hey, I can just not think about this. I just ignore it, forget about it, kind of thing. So that was helpful in that way, to just focus and direct all of my energy and attention on something else instead of dwelling on it. And once I became really fluent in the language, I really didn't care. I made friends. I began making friends who were like me, who liked the same things that I did. And by the time 8th grade came around, no one cared. By the time 8th grade came around, I just was like, I knew the language. I was fluent, and I was pretty familiar with the culture and what was going on. So I began speaking back. I don't know how wise or not wise that was, but I also, if someone said something, I knew exactly what to say back. So I don't really know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but people stopped eventually. And again, reporting it to someone who's in higher authority, like a teacher or a principal, just didn't work. It just didn't work. I thought that, someone would say something. I was expecting someone to say something, but that just never happened. So at the time, I wasn't a believer. I wasn't a believer in the Bible or in Jesus. So really coping didn't have that much to do with my faith. And I think back now and I'm like, if I had been saved, I probably would have coped with it way differently, but I wasn't. So that's definitely something to think about. But with that being said, with my experience just being put out there and shared, if you're an educator watching this and if you see bullying happen, please stop it. Please say something. Please do something. It is your responsibility as an educator to do that. It's not just knowledge, it's applicable knowledge. And I know that because I'm currently teaching, and I was in a school setting a couple of months ago. So I'm aware of these things too, and I have a lot to grow and learn in. But if you're an educator, if you're a teacher in the classroom and you see bullying happen, don't just look past it. Please don't do that. It's not okay. It's your responsibility and your job to do something about it, to say something about it, to report it, to whatever. Go through the parents, go through whatever. When it came to bullying for me, it was always about, like people making fun of like me because I couldn't speak the language, people making fun of where I came from. And I think it was because 9/11 had happened a couple of years back and we came to America in 2005. So that could have definitely been a part of it. So when it comes to that can be really difficult on someone who's 11 years old. And I've actually, witnessed some verbal bullying happen with people who are in like the workforce, like ones who are older, in their 30s or 40s, and there's just this, like, I like to use the word calm bullying. They're not just like sitting there and like attacking them, but they're doing it in like this smart way. You know what they're trying to say, but they're not saying it. And if that's happening in your workforce or whatever, again, stop it. Either defend the person, or have a talk with your boss, or have a talk with the person who's being bullied and figure out a way to like get out of that situation. So bullying is definitely real. People definitely do it, and it's not just kids that do it. And I would say that a lot of times kids bring to school what their parents are saying to them at home. So if you're sitting here at home and giving your opinions out loud and these kids are hearing it, you might not mean anything by it, or you might not be trying to say anything wrong, but kids have a really good way of just like taking certain things and focusing on those certain things, and then bringing that part to school, not listening to the rest of the story. So just encourage anti-bullying methods at home. Talk, if you think that your child might have bullied someone or is being bullied, you as a parent also have that responsibility to talk to them, talk to the school. Just make sure that it doesn't keep happening. Especially because children don't forget these things. It's been 13 years and I still haven't forgotten it. I don't think I ever will. And it affected me and how I perceive people so much, and how I perceive America and how I perceive, so there was a lot of healing that had to be done. But it doesn't mean that I've forgotten about it. So that is basically just the gist of the topic: bullying and integration. And integration by meaning cultural integration, how coming from a different country can influence the bullying, and how it can look different for everyone else, of course. So yeah, I just wanted to focus on verbal bullying. But if there is physical bullying, it's not that much different. So make sure you put a stop to that too. Anyways, on another note, just before I end this video, and thank you for watching, I began recently on my Instagram page and on my YouTube and all of that, putting all of my vlogging/blogging all in like the same circle, kind of. So my Etsy page, I sell body butter on Etsy, and here's a sample of it. It is just really creamy, all natural. I use about 4 to 5 ingredients. I don't use any more than that, and I tell you what the ingredients are. See, it's like very, very creamy and moist. And I sell it on Etsy, and I sell it on eBay now. And I also opened up a YouTube page specifically for the body shop updates. So I wanted to let you know that this isn't just an advertisement or anything like that. I'm wanting to incorporate my blogging all into the same spectrum. I don't want it to be separate anymore, because my blogging on here about being an Arab and also just being an American and having different ideas and views and things like that is also incorporated to the other things that I do, like sell body butter. So I want it to all just be part of the big picture, because it's all part of my life. So I want to all include it into the same thing. Anyways, let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you would like to discuss this topic about bullying and integration more. If you know someone who's been a part of it and you just want to like message and comment and say, hey, I know about this, or hey, I have more questions about this, or hey, I'm like seeing something, so just like if you have any questions, make sure you ask me, and if I don't know the answer to these questions, I will do the research and get back to you, and if I still don't know the answer, then I will tell you I don't know the answer. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and be on the lookout for the next blog. I'm going to be talking about food on the next one, so that's a fun topic. But yeah, so just be on the lookout, and please subscribe. Thank you very much. Have a good rest of your days. Bye.